So, start things off, I wasn't believing in ghosts or the paranormal itself. But my views got changed as soon as my boyfriend was showing me a live proof. Where it first started was on a video call where we both talked about the paranormal. My boyfriend showed me his doll and his EMF meter beside it, here and there was some little spikes on it. I played it off by saying the lamp above or even his router could reproduce those spikes as well, because he didn't shut down the electronics in his place. Many times he showed me those spikes, and it was a bit freaking me out at first. So as soon as I got to his place, I sat down on his bed, and the first thing that came into my mind was, where is the doll? He looked at me and said, yeah, it's in my bed. Luckily, it was covered up by clothes. Because of my fear of dolls, he put the doll in one of his shirts and put it into a closet in a different room. But as soon as he entered the room, the light bulb next to the door just started shining. I thought he was trolling, but he told me the light actually shouldn't be working. He switched the light switch on and off to prove it. The light was still on, and as soon as he put distance from the light bulb, it started flickering and went off. Because I watched him from the living room, I ran up to him and checked the switch myself. Nothing couldn't be turned on. I know it's maybe not a big deal, but me, the non-believer, I couldn't explain it properly. It was a scary experience for me and actually destroyed my view on the paranormal being fake, but I actually will try some stuff just to get more proof of it. So, long story, my family and I went on a trip to Wisconsin for some side-by-side off-roading. There is a trail that is only big enough for select off-road vehicles. The gate is small enough that no vehicles can enter it. We were able to get in on the smaller side-by-side and started the trail. About a mile, the side-by-side I was in needed to stop and they needed to use the restroom, so we fell behind about a mile. The driver of mine decided to try and hit a puddle after we started driving again and ended up hitting a stump, and it flipped us. And unfortunately, half of the side-by-side was nearly crushed, so we couldn't get out. So less than 5 seconds after we stopped rolling, these 3 random men in their 20s start pulling us out of the vehicle and helping us. The weird part is that they drove a 1980s Chevy Blazer, which is far too big to be able to get on the trail. Also, we did not see them behind us at all. This trail is surrounded by trees and heavy entrances, is only big enough for small off-road vehicles. These 3 men helped us out a few minutes later, went by, and the 6 of us, 3 in the side-by-side and 3 of the random men, were working on flipping the side-by-side back over. That's when the other side-by-side got back and helped out. We took a few minutes to talk to each other, and by the time our focus shifted back to the 3 men, them and their vehicle were gone. We didn't hear a vehicle start, and everyone there at the time 100% saw them. Any ideas on what this might have been? I can't figure it out, and it's been bugging me. This was a lot longer post than I thought it was going to be. Would really appreciate some good replies. When I was 5, I was in a car with my parents and sister. I think it was either in Florissant, Colorado, or on our drive to Colorado, 'cause we had just moved there. It was like 2003 at the time. They went to the gas station, and I was tired and didn't feel like going in. It was on a hill with a dirt dugout and make room for the gas station. After they went in, I saw 2 glowing white figurines carrying a wagon with a figure inside that looked like a dog or something with wings. I know it sounds dumb, but I know I was awake because I was so terrified I hid behind the seat in the car. I watched them slowly walk to the back of the gas station, and then my family came back out. Part of me wanted to go back there and look, but I was too scared. I asked my mom, and she said she remembers me telling her about it. Anyone experienced something similar? Another strange fact is that later on we moved back to Florida and stayed at my grandma's house for a while. I don't think the house was old or anything, but I went to sleep for like 5 minutes and I woke up to someone whispering my name. I thought my sister was playing pranks on me. I went to her room and asked her, but she was just pissed off that I woke her up and everyone else in the house was dead asleep. Maybe I'm insane. Sometimes I feel like something followed us and has been plaguing my family ever since. My dad became an abusive psycho when we first moved to Colorado, and my mom got dystonia at the same time. It was also the same year she apparently went to a psychic. We moved back to Colorado in the Woodland Park area later on, and my dad got way more abusive towards me and told me he thought I was possessed because I just started staring at the ceiling one day. I ended up being put in a foster home due to my father's abuse, and my parents ended up getting a divorce. There's a lot more family dynamic shit that happened, honestly, but yeah, it's probably just all in my head. Okay, I know how this is going to sound, but this is a serious question. About 15 years ago, I was getting ready for bed, turning off all the lights one by one. The light in my bedroom was on, so I was turning off all the other lights and going to my room. I picked up my cat like a baby and turned off the last light in the living room. It was a straight shot to my bedroom and nothing obstructing the way. As I was passing my couch with my cat in my arms, I bounced off something that wasn't there. Like literally. Imagine someone walking directly into a wall. The wall was invisible. Even stranger, the moment I collided with whatever it was, I got a rushing wave of heat all through my body, starting from my toes to my head. And then immediately an ice-cold chill from the top of my head all the way down to my toes. My cat reacted with a strong, long, stressed-sounding meow, indicating he sensed something was off too. I have never had this happen again since. I was just wondering if anyone else out there ever had something similar happen. It scared me so much that I slept with the lights on for the better part of 2 weeks. So, this was 2 years ago, England in January. I, 22 female, had a severe workplace accident and was rushed to the hospital. Had a concussion and some nerve damage in my back. A few days later, I could go home and my mom, 50, picked me up. She picked me up around 9 p.m. and our house is about 2 hours away. So it was pretty dark. My mom has always said she felt odd when driving on a specific stretch of road, but I never thought anything of it because I already knew she hated driving at night. She gets creeped out real easily. Anyway, we saw a bright red car take over our car and they were going pretty fast, but nothing was coming towards us. And like I said, it was a straight road, so not that dangerous, all things to consider. But as the car was alongside us, we saw it go through a misty, white truck coming towards it. I gasped and covered my eyes expecting impact, but nothing. The car just carried on like nothing happened. My first instinct was, okay, calm down. You have concussion. You're seeing shit, right? I look over and my mom, no pun intended, looked like she's seen a ghost. Even though the car was pretty dim, I could see her knuckles tight on the wheel and her eyes are wide. I'm almost certain if the road wasn't straight, she would have crashed because I have never seen her that shocked before. I asked, "Did you see what I saw?" And without hesitation, she said, "That car just went through a truck." We both were pretty quiet on the way home. Although I noticed she put on the radio, probably to distract her, and she all but jogged into the house from the driveway. All things considered, I still can't explain what we saw. My mom refuses to use that road whenever possible. We've talked about it since, but really, can't wrap our minds around it. Back when I was around 9 to 10 years old, I knew this pair of twins on my street who were my friends. Tyler mainly. Cody was his brother who we sometimes hung out with. They had no mom, no dad, and they lived with their grandma. They had an infant brother who she also took care of. They were pretty cool, played with the little green army men, shot wasps out of the air with BB guns together, and knocked over small trees in the woods just to watch them fall. We were some shitheads. I realized their car was gone a few months later, and I hadn't seen them come to the bus stop at the end of our dead-end street. I figured they must have moved. Only a month or so later did I find out that their grandma passed away with their infant brother in a car accident caused by a drunk driver who survived the accident. This is when I realized what I had experienced. During the time they had been put into foster care, the grandmother had been dead for a few months. I didn't know this at the time. I went to my friend Nicholas's birthday party at a water park. I was the only friend he invited. His mom and dad loved me, but since they were military, they eventually moved away and I never saw him again. It would have been the last day I had seen anyone again, if it weren't for her. I took multiple slides down repeatedly, even getting embarrassed because some older girls asked if I was stalking them, because they had gone up the same slides repeatedly as well. I hadn't even realized till they accused me. And of course, I was ashamed, so I stopped going down the slides and got into the lazy pool. For those who don't know, a lazy pool is like a swimming pool with dividers which follow a path, lined at certain points with jets that push the water around, creating artificial currents, allowing you to relax and freely float the circuit as you pleased. I had swam down, making the mistake of doing it near the deep end, where the circuit opened up into the adult pool, which was separated from a shallow kiddie area by the jet pool, which was in the center. I decided to get a speed boost and shoot under everyone in the lazy pool to race through it. I was blasted down the underwater lane, shooting me into the deep end. As I tumbled through the water clumsily, being a skinny, uncoordinated little boy, I began to drown, alone in the deep end, adults on the edge of the pool with their feet in the water, and even a lifeguard nearby who completely ignored me despite showing signs of obvious distress. Anyone who saw me could see I was drowning, yet no one cared. I even got to the surface for a bit, screaming. I assumed the lifeguard thought I was pranking him, because I remembered him staring at me. I sank and sank. I ran out of air, and of course the drowning continued. Water painfully filled my lungs, burning as the chlorinated water choked me to death. I gave up. I began to limply fall to the bottom of the pool. I had accepted my fate and decided, this is it. I can't believe I made such a stupid mistake. I'm too tired, so I'm just going to give up since no one cares. I thought of my life as I sank. I had memories of Thanksgiving, primarily since it was the last holiday I participated in with my family. I saw images of my grandfather's face, my mom, my dad, my little brother, my dog, everyone I had ever known and loved. As my knees hit the bottom, I began to black out. Suddenly, I feel a pruny arm wrapping around my stomach and the rushing of water as I was pulled towards the surface. I reached the top and sputtered water, spitting and spewing, only for a lifeguard to tell me, "Hey, you can't spit in the water, kid," after just allowing me to nearly die. What a horrible guy, but not my savior. She was an elderly woman, wearing a pink polka-dotted swimsuit with yellow dots and pitch-black opaque sunglasses on. She was holding an infant propped up in one arm and a baby dressed in a blue and white swimwear onesie. She tells me, "Better not do that again," and laughed it off. As I clambered onto the edge of the pool to catch my breath, I looked towards where she swam and realized I couldn't see her. It was Tyler and Cody's grandma. As the blood oxygen returned to my brain, I realized who just saved my life. She traded cookies and cakes with my mom and was a genuinely wonderful old lady. Everyone on the street missed her. So did I. The baby was the same little boy who passed away in the car crash with the poor old woman. She had the same face, the same hair, the same loose skin, and sounded identical. I never saw her after that, and this encounter has led me to be agnostic rather than atheist. I am still uncertain whether I was saved by a guardian angel. I think it just wasn't my time. Regardless, I am glad she saved me. I have a child of my own now, and my life is exceptionally better than it was during my childhood. An added bonus to this story is that another teenage lifeguard peering up the bottom of a water slide's tube and my foot made contact with his jaw, about 40 to 50 miles per hour, which blew some of his teeth out. He said nothing as it was clearly his fault, but I figured this could be part of the reason the other lifeguard ignored my cries for help. Thanks for reading. Let me know your thoughts. I'm not sure if this is a ghost story or just an odd thing which happened. I was following a city cycle route tonight. It was just starting to get dark, and the sat-nav on my bike took me to a cycle path covered by trees and bushes on either side. I got a bad feeling which I attributed to the darkness creeping in alleyway-style cycle path. Anyway, I stupidly thought if I cycle fast, I'll get out on the other side quickly rather than find another way. Cycling along, I spot two bikes coming towards me. A very distinctive looking man and a girl approximately early 20s, dark hair cycling close behind them. He said hello as we had slowed to let each other pass safely. The girl just looked ahead. She made me uneasy, which was absurd as she seemed like a regular girl. Anyway, I am continuing along and I hear a blood-curdling scream. I am terrified. I have to continue. I can't figure out where it came from. I then pass two girls who look wasted, so it may be them. I'm cycling hard to get through this alley and a slow once more to pass another guy on a bike and what looks like the same girl from the first cyclist I passed, riding just behind him. I don't say hello or smile this time. This time she stares right at me with such a haunting smile. She holds the stare all the while until I pass. Coincidence or not, it was the strangest journey home. I cycled extremely fast after that encounter.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross